This is the Roti master. This is the man who created the, literally developed the bread syllabus, the Roti syllabus here in CIA. Mr Mark Furstenberg. He's an icon. Watch him, watch him. Okay, people, this is Mark Furstenberg, the Roti Pope of US. Tell me about yourself and your love and your passion for roti.
I'm a career changer. I didn't become a roti maker until I was 51. I decided as a writer that I wanted to do something that would give more to the world than just a journalist. So I decided to become a bread baker. And
why bread? Why bread?
Bread appealed to me because of its elemental quality, its basic quality, its connection with history. It had a romance. It has a romance that most foods don't. It's and it tastes good. It tastes good. And it was I wanted to do it because it was challenging, because there's nothing in bread except flour, water, leavening, and yeast.
A lot of love.
And yes, a lot of love, a lot of consistency, and and it requires a lot of skill. And my first breads were okay. The first breads I made professionally were okay.
What was the bread that had people queuing for hours, that you limited them to buying what, just two loaves? What was this bread, and why is it so bloody good?
You know, it wasn't that there was any one bread or that it was so bloody good. It was that Washington D.C., this is a cosmopolitan capital of the world, the capital of this country, and there was no good bread in Washington. And that's not because Washington was particularly backward. It was because there wasn't good bread in America. America doesn't have a bread tradition to the extent that we have a tradition.
I know.
It's European.
Washington is where they steal your bread. It's the capital. That's where all the politicians are.
Yes.
So you bring the bread back to Washington.
I bring the bread back to Washington. I brought bread to Washington, and people recognized it because they had lived elsewhere. They had lived in Europe. They had lived in world capitals like Singapore, and they saw this bread and they said, "Oh my gosh, that's the bread I ate in Paris. That's the bread I ate in Hamburg. I want that bread."
Hey, you run an open street food hawker center, if I may call it. Oh, what's it? What were you selling there, and what's it all about?
I opened a...
What's it called? Come on, sell yourself.
I opened a restaurant just 2 months ago, just at the end of February, and it's called G Street Food because it's on G Street, and it's a pun. It's G Street and it's G Street Food, and it's just across the street from the White House. That is, the White House is on 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue, and we're in the 1700 block of Pennsylvania Avenue. And so the place is surrounded by lawyers and by the White House staff and by the Treasury Department and by the Corcoran Gallery School. And people come in, and they're relatively sophisticated, and they I hope will be enthusiastic about this concept of bringing samples of the great street foods of the world into a kind of fast food restaurant, a restaurant that serves breakfast and lunch.
What Singapore street food do you hope to introduce? Or do you need my help?
No, I need your help.
Off the top of your head, what Singapore food?
Singapore noodles.
Fried ones, soup ones, char kway teow.
Some of the soups that I had in Singapore when I was with you, some of the soups were so superb. And they have flavors that Americans aren't so familiar with. We don't have galangal much in the U.S. We don't do very much with ginger. We don't do so much with lemongrass, although the Vietnamese Americans do.
They do.
So bringing those flavors in the forms of soups and in the forms of noodle dishes, that would be wonderful.
Listen, if I get my ass to your place, I will sell Ota Roti.
That's perfect.
Hey, Ota Roti.
Perfect.
Thank you.
Come to my place, I'll put you to work.
I'll happily do so. Take care, sir.
It's good to see you.